All right, here we go. So we're going to do the first, we need to do at least 4 from the side with numbers. Maybe 5. We'll see how long it takes, and if we're struggling. It shouldn't be too bad. These don't go in like order of difficulty. The hardest one, actually by a margin, is number 7, which doesn't necessarily make sense, but it is. But they do overall, there are more difficult ones at the end overall. It's just not the case for all of them. Okay, so obviously we'll start with number 1. Let's do a new part file, hiding behind my whatever it's called. And let's see what we've got for number 1. Let's we can make it a little bigger in this size window. Doop a doop a doop. And okay. So for this one, we are going to do additive. We are going to only be extruding and creating material. Of course, it could go either way. You could do our normal strategy of making a full block. That's the maximum size in every dimension. And then cutting away what we don't want. But we're going to do this in 3 separate steps. I'll show you the shortcut for doing it in 2 steps, but we'll do it in 3 steps because it will be a little bit easier to understand. The first part we're going to make is sort of this middle part, which is 2 wide, 2 inches wide, and we can presume it's the entire width back there. And so we're going to make a sketch that is this shape, which does take a little bit of inferring how long this part is. But we're going to make this shape right here and extrude it too. And then we will, on the front of that, make this shape, which will be back here, extrude that out too, and do the same thing on the back. And I'll show you both of the shortcuts to make it easier, and then I'll do it the thorough step-by-step way. So the ways to make it easier are just a way to do the second part faster because, okay, so we're going to make this sort of middle slice part first. Then this part here, we can extrude it, but we can extrude both directions. But it would need to be asymmetric because if we're sketching on this face, we're going to need to extrude 2 this way and 4 this way. So we can do a 2-direction extrusion. The other thing is a project geometry, which means like if you have another sketch or another face that you want to duplicate, you can project it. I'll show you both of those. And okay, so the first part, we need a shape that's going to be roughly like this. And these dimensions, okay, across the top, it's 3 and 4. So this is 7 when we get to it. And we don't need to know the length of the slope line because it doesn't matter so long as you know where the line begins and ends. So we won't need a dimension for this one. The left side here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 this way. And across the bottom is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 total this way. So 9 and 7 are the bottom and top, and then 5 up the side, and then connect the slope. So new sketch on our new part on the XY plane since we're drawing the front. And it's going to be another line tool situation where line tool is make the line dimension, make another line dimension, make another line dimension. So we're going to do first click just at origin, just to have something to anchor to. And we'll make the first line. And you can do right click, okay, or right click escape or hit the escape key. But you can also just click on dimension and it will switch it to the dimension tool, even without getting rid of it. And the bottom we said is 9. And then we have a line tool. Let's snap it to vertical. Make sure you can see how when you get close, it does like a little click. Okay, we do want to snap. That will lock it in vertically. And then let's dimension this height to 5. Okay, then we have another line that goes straight across the top. Snap here to here, and we'll dimension that. That was 7. And let me move this out of the way so you can see. And then the last part is this line that connects. And even without dimensioning this line, it will be fully constrained because the points that connect are constrained. Okay, so let's do a finished sketch and extrude. And this is the middle part, so we only need to extrude 2. Okay, so we have this one. We need to draw this shape on this face. And it's going to be, well, really, we only need to draw the slope line because when we sketch on here, we'll get these lines for free with our auto project edges for sketch creation and edit, the setting that I changed. So we get those for free. We just need to draw the slope line and extrude this forward 2. And when we extrude, I'll show you the first shortcut for doing the other part. Feel free. And so this line, the only line we're worried about is right here. And this line needs to be 3 from the left at the top and 5 from the left at the bottom, making sure that when you make the line, you don't snap it to one of the green snaps, but you do snap it to the edge. So we'll get a line tool, and anywhere on the top edge that isn't a corner or the exact middle point is fine. But again, it has to be on the top edge. If you miss, it won't work. First click, and then same rules for the bottom. It doesn't have, like, this is roughly where it's going to be, but anywhere that snaps to the bottom edge that isn't a hard snap is fine, as long as it's not snapped to vertical. And let's dimension. We need to dimension the distance from the end point of this line to the corner, and that works. That's 3. But when you're dimensioning this end point, you can also click on this side. Sometimes you don't get like the place to click that you want. So you can just click on the side and it's the same thing. Okay. And this needs to be 3 from the side. And this other one, first click, second click, and 5 from the side. Okay. We will finish sketch and okay. The regular way would be extrude, choose this, and extrude it too, because that's how far it comes out. Okay, the first shortcut is doing both extrusions at the same time, which we need not symmetric, we need asymmetric, and we want 2 inches coming to the front, and in order to make it go as far as we need 4 to the back, because you can see where we're sketching, if we made it 2 in either direction, or symmetrical, the other one wouldn't go through our first part. So this is the first shortcut. Okay, if you do that, you're done. Like, it's that easy. Okay, the second shortcut, which I don't know why I'm continuing, but it's fine. The second shortcut, what's up? You do across here, it's the fourth one is asymmetric. And you need to set the values 2 inches in distance A and 4 in distance B. Okay, the other shortcut is we'll just do the regular extrusion 2. And when we go to the other side, we are making roughly the same, not roughly, exactly the same line. This line on this side in the back is going to be something like, it's going to be like that. And we could do it the long way of making a sketch and dimensioning it. But because it's actually the same shape as this, we can use what's called project geometry. So we're going to start a sketch over here like we were drawing it. And this tool up here, project geometry. Okay, look, I have no lines on this. If I go to the other side, click project geometry and project this face, when I go back, it will be there, right? It just pops over whatever's there. And this is a relatively basic use for it, but when we get to more complex things, it's essentially necessary. But if you did that, you could then finish sketch and do the extrusion and extrude it too. Okay, it made the sketch for us. The slow way, the thorough way, once you have your first extrusion, is just to do the exact same thing. Put a sketch on the back, get a line tool that, these things stay up too long. I don't know how to change the, get the line tool, same thing, snaps to the top edge, snaps somewhere to the bottom edge, dimension, distance from this endpoint to here is 3, and the distance from this, nope, distance from this point to the corner is 5. And same thing as before, finish sketch, E for extrude. You can just type E on your keyboard. You don't have to do shift or anything. And there you go. That is part 1 from the back. Go ahead and save it. Again, consistent naming practices, part space 1 or part 1 with no space. Just do the same thing so they line up alphabetically. Okay, and let's do number 2. Number 2, we're going to do additive also. We are going to make this base part that is too tall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think 8 wide is my guess. The photocopy is so blurred out. Let's see here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 8 wide. So we're going to make this bottom part that's too tall and 8 wide. So a rectangle, too tall, 8 wide, and then extrude it 6. And yeah, and that'll make the base. So let's go ahead and do a new default part file. Start a sketch, sketch on the front, get a rectangle, snap to the origin, first click, out here somewhere, second click, dimension the height to 2 and the width to 8. And home to zoom out, or home, or really just finish sketch should, well, no, it doesn't. Finish sketch will be like that. And extrude, and we want to extrude it 8. It is important, especially when you're doing cuts or second extrusions. The first extrusion is always going to be roughly like this, but it is important to look at your work from a 3D angle. It doesn't necessarily have to be an exact corner, but you should be able to see which direction it's extruding, especially if you're doing some sort of cut. And when you're doing sketches, which are 2-dimensional things, you should be looking at it straight on from a face, because you're working in 2 dimensions when you're doing lines and rectangles. Okay, so we have our sort of base situation that is like that. And now we just need to do these 2 top things, which look like that. And please put the food away, if that's what that is. And we can do it in the same part feature. We'll make this triangle over here and this trapezoid over here. And in the same move, extrude them both up a distance of 2. So what are the dimensions of these shapes? Well, this one in the bottom right is pretty easy. I acknowledge your sneeze. This length, or rather, all we have to draw is a single sloped line, which will be this one. We will get these 2 lines for free when we make the sketch. We just need to know where this point is and where this point is. Okay, this point and this point. We know that it is 1, 2, 3 this way, but since the entire thing is 6, when we click to start the line, we can actually use that center point, or not the center point of the edge, that green dot, as our first click, and we won't need to dimension it. Okay, the center dots and the corners are very useful if you mean to use them. If you don't mean to use them, it will keep you from changing the sizes of things, which is not good. And this other side is just 2 from this corner, and that'll be our first triangle. Let's take care of that. And we're not going to click finish sketch when we're done with it because the other part is going to go in our sketch. And hold on, did I extrude this right? I don't think I extruded this right. Hold on. Did I extrude it 8? It looks square. Let's see here. Edit feature. Yeah, I did extrude it 8. 6 front to back and 8 left to right. So it should be a rectangle like that way. Okay, so we'll start a sketch on the top. We should be looking at the face called top where you can read the word top. And when you can read the word top, the rectangle shape should be wider than it is tall. That's how you know you're sketching on the correct side. We'll get the line tool, and like I said, we can use the center snap. If you get close to the center, it will click and turn green. The little cursor middle part will turn green, and that's going to be our first click. Our second click is going to be down here on the bottom edge somewhere. But in this case, it's not the center point, just anywhere on this bottom edge. Click, and let's get the dimension tool and dimension the distance from this endpoint to the corner. And that distance was 2. Can you please put the food away? Like indefinitely. Thank you. And it's fully constrained. We have our triangle. Okay, but we're going to leave it for now because we're going to do the other side. And the other side, we've already gotten these edges for free with the auto project edges. You can see it's like purple there. It's as if we drew it. So all we need to worry about is this line right here. And again, a line only matters, or the only thing you need to worry about is where it starts and where it finishes. Danielle. And this side of the line is 1. So this is roughly the line we're making. We need it to be 1 from there, and we need it to be, I can't even see anymore, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from here. So it's 1 here and 5 there. So without having clicked finish sketch, if you did click finish sketch, you can always edit a sketch by right-clicking on it. And you can tell I right-click when it's the orange circle. Right-clicking and doing edit sketch will let you bring it back up. And so our line snaps somewhere on the bottom edge. Well, this is really the front of the shape, but somewhere on the edge here, not the corner. First click, and second click somewhere on this edge, which is the back, but not the center point. And we need to dimension it. The distance from the corner here to this endpoint was 1 and is 1. And the other from here to the corner was and is 5. Now we can finish sketch and extrude, choose both of the areas that we want. And if you choose like the wrong or too much or something like that, just say cancel and go again. Can I hit cancel? Please tell me this isn't jammed. This is bad. Let's finish sketch. Is it all broken? Because this doesn't exist. Okay. There we go. All right. Yeah, that's not good. But we'll be able to be all right. So let's extrude, choose this, and we are only extruding it up 2 more than what we have. So we're just going in the regular direction 2. And there you go. That is part 2. Okay, let's keep moving. Part 3, there are a few ways to do this. I mean, like everything, there's a few ways to do this, but we are going to do this in 2 steps. we're going to make, first, let's go like this, and let's make a new part file. And our first step is going to be to make this wedge shape and extrude it all the way back. So we'll have this, and it'll go down like that. And then we're going to make this part over here, which is actually going to be easier to draw on the back and then extrude it forward. But regardless, same thing as before, where we have a sloped face, which means as long as we know this point and this point, we're good. So from here, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tall, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 5, 8, and 3, and extruded 5 also. So start a sketch on the front and line tool. First snap here, second snap there. Remember lines, it's always line dimension, line dimension, line dimension. 5 tall. Line tool. From the bottom snap there, across, dimension that to 8. I need to speed up some things. Hold on. Let's go like this. And how can I do that? Let's go mouse and let's make that set of 0.3. Let's go 200. Maybe 150. Yeah, that's a lot better. Okay. Next line across the top. Dimension. Maybe that's a little too short. Getting a little pedantic here. But either way, 3 across the top, and then a line that goes from here to there, and already fully constrained. If we do right click OK, it'll say fully constrained, plus all the lines are black or dark blue or something. And we need to finish and extrude, and our extrusion distance was 5. And there is the first part feature, or the main part feature. And the other part feature is a sort of block that is what we already have plus 3 by 3, up 3 and over 3, and it comes to the forward 3. So it's going to be, the sketch we're going to make is just this shape, but we're going to make it on the back. And because we want it to be a closed loop and everything, it's actually easier to make a full square that's 3 by 3 and then extrude it forward. The fact that some of it's going to extrude through twice doesn't change anything. So we are going to do a look at the back. This face right here, you can see is the back face. And let's go ahead and start a sketch on this. And like I said, the shape we want to make is just 3 by 3 this way and extrude it. But you can do it in one step with a rectangle and a snap it. It has to snap to this bottom point of the wedge. And then you can just make it up here. If you snap it to here, it kind of limits it, especially if you click on the middle point of this side, which should be somewhere around here. Am I not getting? Yeah, there it is. So just something like that is fine. And dimension it to what we want, which is 3 this way and 3 this way. It just as easily could have been done with lines. In fact, I'll just show you that also. Either way, so long as you, well, the line tool is pretty obvious. It would have been line dimension, line dimension. So long as the dimensions are right. And finish sketch, extrude, and it will actually let us just choose this one. But if it didn't, which sometimes it guesses wrong, if we chose both of these, regardless, we would need to switch direction. Making sure it doesn't switch to cut, we need to leave it there. In fact, that alone is a reason to just only select part so that you don't accidentally cut. By which I mean, when you go to extrude, you really might as well only choose that one. And we'll switch direction and make it 3. And that's it. Now, hit OK and save it. If you did this, this is an important thing to note. This will save you some trouble. And if you do switch direction, sometimes and it did for me, I think it will automatically switch to cut because it thinks, because you're extruding into something that you probably want to move or get rid of it. If you switch direction, you can see it switched to cut, and that isn't what I want. If I accidentally hit OK and it wasn't this, the way that you solve it is by editing the feature. Okay, the sketches, the two-dimensional things, are consumed by the feature. And if you want to change the extrusion distance or what have you, all you have to do is right-click on the word of the feature. In this case, it's extrusion 2, and do edit feature, and it will give you the chance to change things, which I don't want to cut. I want to create material, but I only want to create 3. And there you go. That is part 3. Okay, and I think we can do 5 today. That way we'll get through the back in 4 days instead of 5 days, which still sounds like a lot. Maybe we'll do 6 today. I don't know. Let's see. What's up? You need to switch direction. Okay, so you are, for you, it is going the other direction, like out. If you switch direction, first of all, you're extruding. Look at it from a corner up here. Okay, yeah, you got it. You're next. Please be on. Good. If you choose the other direction, it will move towards the inside, but make sure it doesn't switch to cut, which, I mean, just be aware. So it's, yeah, there you go. And it's fine. Hit okay. What do you got? It's probably not a closed loop. You probably missed a connection, is my guess. Or do you have 2 sketches open? Okay, then it's the somewhere on the sketch, it's not connected all the way around. Okay, so part 3 and part 4 looks like this. We are actually going to do this in a few different parts, or excuse me, few different part features, trying to make it as easy as possible. But this is going to be a subtractive one where we start with our full block of marble and cut away everything that isn't our sculpture, which is a subtractive process. So what is the size of our block of marble? 3, 2, and 3 is 8 wide. Height is 2 and 3. Tall is 5. And so rectangle 8 by 5, extruded 5. So we'll start and we'll draw on the front. We'll get a rectangle. And did I get a rectangle? I did. And we'll start here by here. And what did I say? 5 tall and 8 wide. And finish sketch. Home to zoom out and extrude it 5. Okay. And so now let's figure out what we need to cut. Okay, so the way I see it is that there are these 2 sort of steps or platforms or things that are each 3 by 3 squares. We're going to do those first. And what we have is this big. We could either draw squares on the front that are 3 by 3 and cut extrude them 3, like 2 squares like that, and cut them back. Or we could do the same thing on the top, a couple of 3 by 3 squares here and cut extrude them down, which is the way we're going to do it to make these platforms. We're going to push those down or cut material. Okay, and like I said, they are just 3 by 3 squares, easy to remember, and cut extrude 3. So they're 3 by 3 cubes of space, which you can ignore that if you didn't get it. Okay, so we need a new sketch on the top surface. I like to look at it from an angle where you can read the word, and usually I should say, and we need one rectangle that snaps to the bottom left corner, which is really the front top left corner. And another one, I'm just going to go ahead and draw a rough estimate for both of my rectangles first. You can see where we are sketching. We're sketching on the top. And let's dimension all four of these green lines are 3. 3 wide, 3 tall. And again, 3 wide and 3 tall. And finish sketch and extrude. Extrude this, switch it to cut, but we only want to cut 3. All right. And the way I see it, we definitely have at least 2 more features, but we're going to try something different. If you were working on this on your own, and the way I usually show it is essentially the same tools we've been using before, where we're going to sketch in order to make this sloped face, we would sketch on this face, and when in that sketch, just have a line that connects these 2 points and cut away everything that we don't want. And actually, that would be plenty fast, but I want to show you a different tool, and the tool is called chamfer. There are 2 ways to sort of round over an edge. There's chamfer, which is like a cut or a knockdown type of thing. You know, a sort of they call it's breaking the edge. And the other one is a fillet. You probably will say fillet, but it's not. It is a fillet, and that is a round over edge situation. All of which have you need to dimension them. You can't just, take the hard pass. You can't just throw it up there, but we're going to use this opportunity to use the chamfer tool. And the first thing you have to select, which any tool that pops up, there's usually well, that doesn't work. Any tool that pops up, I need to use a tool that will actually work. Maybe shell. Any tool that pops up when one of the buttons is already selected, that's the thing you're supposed to do first. So for chamfer, we need to choose the edge that we want to chamfer, which is this edge. You need to actually choose the edge that we're working with. And the dimension here is the distance from that edge. So the distance of, that I just dragged it to 2.1875, which is actually 2 1/8, is the distance from the edge that we selected. And because it is this first type, it will make it the same distance in both directions, whatever the dimension we put it, which means this will be 45 if we started with 90. The other, and if you mouse over, you can see this first type is probably called symmetrical or identical or something like that. Yeah. So the dimension here will be distance. That's the distance in. You can also choose by distance and angle, and you can choose by 2 different distances, which is what we're going to do for the other slope face. But for this one, we are just going to, I'll start from scratch if you were trying to follow along. Chamfer tool, choose the edge that we want to cut or knock down. And like I said, the dimension is how far from the side, which if we have our rectangle here, it's 3. It's 3 in from the corner that we have. So the distance is 3. And hit OK. Okay, that is one way to do that. Again, we could have just put a sketch here, get a line that connects here to here, finish sketch and extrude. And that would have been faster and used abilities that you already have. But showing you the chamfer tool, I think is, it's at least extending your abilities. And we're actually going to use the chamfer tool for this other sloped face by using the 2 different distance one. Because right now, so that obviously this block goes out here, which means it's like that. And this slope face starts here just like the other one, but it doesn't go to the corners. It's not 3 in both directions. It's only 2 this way while being the full 3 that way. So we have to use the 2 distance type of chamfers. And so we'll use chamfer. First choose the edge, then switch to 2 distances as the type of chamfer. And we need to make, do we need to reselect? Yeah, I guess you reselect the edge. Distance 1 should be 3 and distance 2 should be 2. Depending on which way you're counting as positive, it might be 2 this way and 3 this way, or at least in the space. You may have distance 1 and distance 2 reversed, but either way, it shouldn't look like this. It should look like this. Okay, so that the slope is like that. Okay, and if you need to see that again, why is this oh, because I made the other thing like that. So it's chamfer, choose, I guess technically you should choose the 2 distance first because it made me reselect. Choose the edge and then figure out which is distance 1 and which is distance 2. And the one that goes this direction, which for me is distance 1 and probably will be distance 1 for you, needs to be 3. And the one that goes this way, for me, is distance 2. And this needs to be a distance of 2 as well. Okay, and there you go, part 4. Okay, and I do want to get up through all this stuff. Maybe 5 is enough to do today so that we can get the walkthrough up. Okay, I think part 5, the 5th one of today, because we started at 1, I think part 5 is probably the second most difficult on this from the start, at least not knowing how to do it. The steps themselves, if I show you, it's not that hard. Part 7 is still kind of difficult even once I show you. But like I said, we're going to work on part 5. And part 5, we're going to do in 2 different steps. First, we're going to draw this pentagon and extrude it all the way across. And then once we have that, we're going to draw this shape and extrude it out and back in. Okay, so our first sketch is going to be this, which the easiest way to do this is to make a rectangle that's 3 by 6. And then find the center point of this and go up a distance of 2 and then connect down. So we're going to start with a rectangle, or start with a sketch on the front face. And rectangle here, and this is just sort of the bottom of the house. That is going to be 3 tall and 6 wide. And then to make the vertical thing, we could do it with a work point, which will just let you dimension the location of that. But it's actually just as easy to, and probably easier to use a line tool where we're just going to draw a line from our center point, snap to vertical. And the only reason to do this is to get the endpoint as the location of our slope lines. But we do need to dimension this. The length of this line needs to be 2. And that is, okay, what we already have is this rectangle. Try to draw it neatly so that you can see it. And from this center point, we draw this line up just so that we can draw lines that connect down to close that loop in the right dimensions. So we get a line tool and snap to the end here, snap to there, and same thing again here to here. And then we can finish sketch. and extrude everything. And extruded 8. All right, so there is the first portion, the first part feature. And yeah, so this is good. The other part feature, we are going to draw right here. And this feature is interesting in that we can do the same thing of a rectangle that is actually, this is a half distance. This is 1.5 above. So that's important. And then it just connects like the same way. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to sketch on this face. We're going to make the sort of rectangle bottom first, which we need to dimension or put enough dimensions on. We're going to draw the rest of the shape. And once we have our shape, we're going to extrude it forward in one direction and extrude it the other direction so that it intersects. Okay, ideally. We'll see what the pop-ups look like. So let's start a sketch, and we're sketching on this face right here. Look at it straight on. And our shape is a combination of a rectangle and those extra lines. We want our rectangle to be the same height as this side. Okay, so our face looks like that at this point behind this new extrusion, and the rectangle portion is the same height. So we are fine with getting our rectangle and snapping it to the bottom edge somewhere, not a center point or a corner. And same thing up here, snapping it to the edge, but not a center point or a circle or a corner, I mean. You can do right click done. We are still missing 2 dimensions. Okay, rectangles normally have 2 dimensions, but we've already dimensioned 1. We've made it this height of 3 by snapping it. The 2 dimensions we need are the distance, like the width of the rectangle, which should be 4. That was a 3-click dimension. I'll show it again. So dimension tool, first click on one of the lines, second click on the other line, and then click in between or below. And that needs to be 4. And we still need one more dimension, and the dimension is the location of this rectangle. We've drawn a rectangle that's 3 tall because we snapped it. We made it 4 wide because we just made the dimensions, but it's not located anywhere. So we're going to dimension its distance from this front, which, on a second, if we look at it from a corner, you'll see the distance from here to the side is 2. Okay, so we need to make sure this is locked in 2 away from what's technically the front of the shape. If it's a house, it kind of looks like the side. But either way, dimension tool, no, that's not what we want. Dimension tool, distance from here to here, and out of the way is an easy way to not break it. And then 2. Okay, so that is the start. That's the rectangle portion of what I guess is the front door of the thing. And then we just need to draw, we already have the rectangle. We just need to draw a line from the center point up 1.5 and then connect those. We'll do that next. Line tool, find the center point, which will be a green dot. First click, and then make sure it snaps to vertical. Nope, I missed. Line tool, snap to the center, snap to vertical, dimension this to 1.5, 1.5, and then lines that close it off. Okay, and I think we can do this in one move. We finish sketch, and we should be looking at it from a corner, or at least a 3-dimensional view. It doesn't absolutely have to be a corner. You can free orbit if you want. And let's see, we're going to go extrude. We definitely want to extrude everything we just drew, and without clicking on the things we don't want. But we want it to go in 2 directions. but it's going to go forward a different amount, I think. So distance A is forward. That only needs to be a distance of 2 to the front. Actually, we might be doing this the wrong way. Well, either way, let's figure it out. It's 2 to the front, which is how far it pops out. And the other direction needs to be to next, which can we get to next? Hold on a second. Let's do sketch, extrude. And is to next an object or an option? Flipped and no. What is to next? What happened to that pop-up? Okay, so technically we could, without cutting it. Oh yeah, advanced properties. That's probably what it is. But we'll see. We could just figure out how far the part that goes in needs to go in so that it doesn't stick out the back. We are going to extrude it, like clearly we're extruding it in, but we don't want it to stick through because that's not part of it. But there should be a to next. There we go. Maybe that was there already. Let's see here. Can we do this with our asymmetrical one? Asymmetrical. Distance A needs to be 2, and distance B needs to be... No, it doesn't do that. Okay, so change my mind once again. Get to this point where you have the sketch done. If you did already do it the other way and it's correct, that's fine, it's correct. But we are actually going to do this in 2 extrusions because I want to show you 2 next, like TO, 2 next. We have our finished sketch, that's closed loop. Choose all 3 portions. If you did it the same way as me, it would be the same. You could. And we want to switch directions, but not cut. And the thing we want is this to next. And it will, you can see it extruded it exactly back, exactly to, or well, you can do 2 and then choose the face you want it to extrude to, and it will close it off, or to next, which just means it extrudes until it touches something that it fills in. And is this not the best way to do it? I don't know. There's a few ways to do it, and I'm not quite sure the best way. Well, at least I've shown you 2 next. I guess the asymmetrical way is probably the best. Okay, if you're here, we can go extrude. Once again, choose everything. And we can do asymmetrical. The distance forward needs to be 2. And the distance, the distance backwards needs to be whatever distance goes into the part, but not through. So it's not going to be an exact distance. Does 3 work? I guess 3 is fine. And yep, well, that makes sense because it's halfway in. That makes sense completely. But yeah, so long as it's not sticking out the back of the part, that's what we're looking for. So asymmetrical with 2 towards the front and 3 towards the back. If I do 2 towards the back, yeah, if you just do 2, you can see it doesn't go all the way, and that would be wrong. 3 is a good one for that, or something over that. There you go. And there is part 5. I'll check it here momentarily. Okay, and I think that's where we're going to stop for today. What we've done so far, view and arrange. There you go. That's what we've done today. And if you are done with A through F, I'll check those. And if you're done with G through L, I'll check those too, actually. And that's it. When this finishes processing, I'll post it.